Let us begin.
Welcome, everyone. Let us align and focus with purity of motive, inspired by a loving heart. Master DK says, right spiritual motive involves merging of the personality self-will into that of the sacrificial will of the soul. Our aim is to embody spiritual discernment, practice positive harmlessness, and eventually achieve a state of divine indifference as we dispel illusion, dissipate glamours, devitalize Maya in all our relationships. Before we begin, let us align as soul and as a group and see our group approaching Master DK's study. Silently sound the soul mantra, and in that soul silence, fuse and blend your personality will with the will of the soul. I am the soul. I am light divine. I am love. I am will. I am fixed design. My will is now to lift the lower self into the light divine. Such is my will. We align as soul with all those studying and meditating with Master Jalkul, including those who join us from the other side of the veil. Breathe in effortlessly and easily. See our group moving through the field of lotus blossoms, lining our path toward Master DK's study. We pause at the ivory door, which opens as the Master greets us and invites us in for our contemplative approach to advancing as a discipleship group as we endeavor to dissipate glamour and dispel illusions as individuals and in group formation. We stand around Master DK and see 3 windows filled with light. We stand in silence as he turns and faces the east. Together we enter into a great point of light. And we sound the mantra of Prujan. I am one with my group brothers and sisters, and all that I have is theirs. May the love of the one soul pour forth to all. May the energy of one soul lift and aid all. May the thoughts which the soul creates reach and encourage all. May the energy of the divine self be spread abroad in our arts, through our groups, and throughout the world. The act of naming. We begin the technique of light for the dissipation of blue glamour. Having agreed upon a glamour that impacts experience and yet is not a minor glamour, we name the glamour of separative group-centeredness. Keeping in mind that glamour has appearance, quality, and life. There can be triggers that signal the rebirth of this glamour in a group setting. Consider the hindrances that this glamour presents as it manifests in your life and group work. See your part in it. Name your part in it. How does the glamour appear for you? What qualities are noticed? And sense the point of light for this glamour. Silence for 3 minutes. preparatory stage that we do imaginatively until the group itself has formed to work together on the physical plane. For the act of naming, we face the group members eye to eye and establish a soul-to-soul connection. In silence, we withdraw from personal and world affairs and center on the work to be done, setting up a magnetic field of positive, receptive activity. Silence. The act of protection involves sounding the protective formula using the sign of the cross of divinity, the great symbol of light and of consciousness, signifying the vertical light and the horizontal light. Vertical light, the power of attraction, and the horizontal light, the power of radiation. The vertical light, soul life, and the horizontal light, service. The long-armed vertical cross, touching the points as we are guided to do so. Touching the forehead. As a soul, I work in light. The center of the chest. And darkness cannot touch me. Left eye. I take my stand within the light. I work. Right eye. And from that point, I never move. The act of focusing the lights. Focusing the dual personality light of matter and of mind, we meditate on soul contact and the recognition of soul light. First blending and fusing the two lesser lights, and then merging the blended lights with soul light as an individual. And then this is carried forward as a group, each member making their contribution and consciously attempting to visualize the process of blending the triple light, which each contributes into one sphere of light. As we meditate on this merging and blending of the lights, maintaining a focused, immovable will as the point of tension, the identification of the brain, mind, and soul with the will aspect and the preservation of that identification. Unchanged and immovable in all circumstances and difficulties. Remembering that the will aspect can be contacted only from the mental plane, and only those, therefore, who are working with and through the mind can begin to appropriate this energy. From that high point of soul focus and using the triple light of the merging and blending this triple light in the group light, the group soul. There is a realized unity of the souls of all the group members, increasing in power and potency as the great search light. Say in unison, the light is one, and in that light shall we see light. This is the light that turns the darkness into day. Sounding with the sound of the bowl as the group soul on its own plane. Sound it forth, affirming by the group soul the realized unity of the soul of all the group members. The light is one, and in that light shall we see light. This is the light that turns the darkness into day, sounding as the soul on the mental plane. The light is one, and in that light shall we see light. This is the light that turns the darkness into day, sounding as the soul on the astral plane. The soul ready to function as light bearer and distributors of light upon the astral plane. The processes of individual and group alignment and integration can now be regarded as completed. And when it is really correctly accomplished, with each meeting, we see a more rapid integration and fusion and a greater brilliance of the sphere of light thus created. The sounding of Om indicates both the fusion and the sphere of action, because Om is first of all sounded forth by the group soul, the realized unity of the souls of all the group members, and then as a soul upon the mental plane, and finally as a soul ready to function as light bearer and distributor of light upon the astral plane. We know these symbolic ways of registering the inner reality as we attempt to externalize force, for we are instructed that it is what all symbols and symbolic ways of acting are capable of doing. These symbolic ways serve to keep us at a point of tension. We pause to note this important recognition as it keeps us from attributing undue power to the form aspect of the simple ritual and aids us in focusing our attention in the world of meaning and of subjective spiritual activity. At the close of these three stages, naming, protection, and focusing the light, we are united as souls, insulated against the attractive power of the glamour, and united as souls with mind and brain held steady and positive in the light. The blended light is looked upon as a great searchlight whose beams are to be directed through an act of the will downward from the mental plane onto the glamour existing on the astral plane and which has been brought into relation with the group by the very act of naming it. While saying mantra of light, we visualize the turning of the great searchlight, which we have jointly created by our unified light onto the glamour to be dissipated, holding the light steady and realizing mentally the work of dissipation it is intended to do, confirming this the act of direction. Together and in vocal unison, the group says the mantra of light. Radiance we are and power. We stand forever with our hands stretched out, linking the heavens and the earth, the inner world of meaning and the subtle world of glamour. We reach into the light and bring it down to meet the need. We reach into the silent place and bring from thence the gift of understanding. Thus, with the light we work and turn the darkness into day. We pause for a few minutes as we, as a group, attempt to throw behind the searchlight our united, directed, and dynamic will or intent. This carries along the projected beam of light the destructive quality of the spiritual will, destructive to all that hinders the manifestation of divinity. This is done by attaining a unique point, a united point of tension, and the dedication of the individual and group will to the will of God through this act of will, carried on by each member of the group, silently and with a deep realization that all others accept it, and that it is the group will which is being silently focused. In silence, the searchlight builds in power, radiance, and strength, yet is still quiescent and not yet directed out. Then together we say, with power upon its beam, the light is focused on the goal. The act of projection, we utter the words of power, which, again naming the particular glamour, the subject of our attention, we thus bring it consciously into relation with the focused light, beginning the task of dissipation. The power of our united light prevents the appearance of the glamour of separative group-centeredness. The power of our united light negates the quality of the glamour from affecting humanity. The power of our united light destroys the lie behind the glamour. Now, the act of affirmation. These words gain strength from the experience of each of us and from our familiarity with their use, dissipating all three aspects of the glamour. Through the act of penetration, next comes an important aspect of the work in which we visualize the gradual dissipation and dispersal of the glamour by the penetration of the light into its darkness. We endeavor to see the glamour disintegrating and the reality emerging. Doing this by an effort of the creative imagination. Each of us will do this in our own way and according to our own understanding and capacity. We continue in silence and intensity of purpose as the group waits for the work instituted to go forward. Silence for 5 minutes. begin the act of withdrawal. As a group, we withdraw our consciousness from the astral plane and the world of glamour. We refocus attention, first of all, on the mental plane. And then on the soul plane. Relinquishing all thought of the glamour, knowing that the work has been successfully carried forward. We reorganize ourselves as a group in relation to the kingdom of souls and to each other. Occultly speaking, the searchlight of the soul is shut off. We sound the Om in group formation together with the bowl. Then, in order to emphasize that the group work is ending, the vocalizer or leader for the group begins and sounds the Om aloud and saying, "So let it be and help us in our individual lives and in group life to end all glamour and untruth." Om. The glamour will never again have as potent an effect, though the dissipation of glamour takes persistence and patience. Remember that the 3 stages of focusing the light must be somewhat developed before effective use of the formulas can be possible. And those of us intending to work at the task of ridding the world of glamour must subject ourselves constantly to these phases in the heart of polarization. We must have an understanding of the apparatus of thought, of the creation of thought forms, and of the nature of the thinker. We must be emotionally polarized, yet in group work relatively free from astral control. This astral liberation must, to a certain extent, control the choice of those who are to work at major dissipations. Those of us working in group formation will have achieved a measure of mental focus, but for the purpose of the work to be done, we will focus ourselves consciously and deliberately upon the emotional plane through the control of the 3 bodies, physical, astral, and mental, and we shall continue to work regularly on the dissipation of our individual glamours. What is required of the group? 3 stages: to have practiced meditation, to have reflected deeply upon the nature of thought and its uses, and to have developed awareness of the light within, established as related group activities, group habits, and group automatic reactions. And when the intention is fixed and the ability to focus has become an almost instinctual reaction, we are told then sound and effective work as a group can be done. To this work must be added group persistence and group patience. Attuning to Master DK's instruction, know thyself. We endeavor to know the self and understand the group self, the gifts and the limitations. Proceed slowly and with caution. We pause periodically to update our approach after dialogue and experience with the formula. We focus on patience and embody persistence. Study effects. We endeavor always to reflect and modify our activities to advance as a group into greater soul consciousness. A group of disciples within the ashram who are of equal development with the new disciple act as a safeguarding group. And this is true, no matter what the degree where higher incoming energy is concerned. When a disciple is temporarily bewildered, this safeguarding becomes a major necessity. And where glamour is present in the disciple's life, it places a real strain upon his co-disciple. They have to share the charge and shoulder unitedly the protection. It is not the task of the master, but is carried forward under his interested and wise instruction. Eliminate all judgment, eliminate all criticism.